always, guys, respect the pump. I respect the pump in all assets. Why? Because it's kind of like karma. You know, the power of the pump always comes back to you if you respect the pump of other people. It's crazy, but I have this belief that whatever pumps, you have to pay respect. Because otherwise, if you're like, oh my God, this scam coin is pumping again, actually you are kind of rejecting the pump from your life.
GM market participants. In this one, we're going to take a look at macro and memes. So quite an interesting mix here. We're going to start with the Bitcoin chart, talk about leverage, go into some of the macro turning points that have taken place overnight here. So woken up to some pretty good news. So let's discuss that and see where the money is flowing, because on chain, the direction is clear. So Bitcoin starting off the day here, 57,400, putting in a nice pump. And also you can just see this wick, the length of this wick on here, just an immediate buyback into strength there for BTC. A lot of people saying we could retest the lows. I do think that is unlikely. I think a lot of people went into cash due to the mass panic over the weekend and into Monday, and thus they now need to chase higher. This kind of region here, these weekly candles we posted at the kind of massive dip we saw in early July, so 55,500. Essentially, if we are to get a bit of a dip here, maybe we'll come and retest those, but I wouldn't expect we come down as far as this. And to be honest with you, we're now looking towards a nice round even 60K region. Above there, things are looking a lot better, and we've had some just major deviations outside of this range overall. Now, I did just listen to Crown's analysis as well, and he has changed his tune. He was very bearish, which is obviously worrying because his analysis has been pretty much as on point as anyone. And he said that the hash ribbon signal, we can kind of give it a bit of leeway due to the fact on Monday, he didn't want to see it. He didn't want to see Bitcoin below 56K essentially. And it actually closed like 54.8. So that was a worry. But in the broader context, there was just so much going on. We've had a bit of a grace one, if you want to call it that. And so he's given it a bit of leeway and a bit of time. And he's saying, look, if we can close above, I think it's around 56,700 or something. So we're above there right now. So if we close kind of where we are or higher today, he's saying that the hash ribbons have essentially held. There was a small deviation, but we're working with fine numbers here. But he's kind of expecting upward resolution due to the fact the stock market looking good. And a lot of people have been buying back the dip on the stocks. So that is kind of the setup of where we are right now. This is Bitcoin's price, as you can see up here, and then open interest levels, because I think it's just interesting just to see the numbers here. So this is the point at which we nuked down to. So open interest went from like $22 billion all the way down to 14 billion, which actually takes us back in terms of time frame to the initial breakout at the start of February 2024. So this was the run up into early February and then a major breakout. And we haven't seen this level of open interest since then. It's the amount of leverage people are taking on. So this means we've had pretty much a factory reset back. How many months is that? 6 months. And so this is obviously going to be healthy for the markets, and it's unlikely to drive us lower after a major reset. Once the reset happens, you're going to more likely have people offsides, and this will start to build. So from the bottom here, 14.5 billion, we're back up to 16 billion. Essentially what this chart shows you is that when we've had drops off, the open interest has been around $21 billion. Every time we get around there, it dips, it dips. So it seems that that may be the magic number where whoever it is, the market makers, etc., decide, yep, that's enough leverage. Let's go and sweep some of those gains for ourselves, and we have drops off. So just something to monitor. Would like to now see the open interest just chop sideways and slowly up rather than have, if it just spikes all the way back up to 21 billion, likely we get a leverage flush yet again. But let's move on to some macro here. So a really interesting and important headline dropped. So this is 6:45 a.m. this morning. Bank of Japan's Deputy Governor Uchida, when asked about the Bank of Japan's next rate hike timing, personally, I think there are now more factors that require being cautious, i.e., we're not looking to hike. He's pretty much taken that off the table. and they're considering other factors. So this sounds like the call has been put into Japan to play ball with the other central banks. That's what I'm reading into this, and Fujao kind of summed this up. He says, with the Bank of Japan put in place, so global coordinated attempts, collusion by the central banks to massage the outcomes they want. He's saying, look, the Fed is fully set for at least a 25 basis points cut in September, and other global central banks are already cutting. The ECB here in the UK just had their first cut. We've now reached volatility control nirvana. So this is going to be good if you want risk assets to go up, like myself. I would love them to go to the moon. We need periods of low volatility. We've just had a blowout and a huge spike in volatility. So maybe now we'll be met with a period, as he's saying, of nirvana. Fujao finishes off, when all global central banks ease at once, the rate differentials remain constant, which makes Forex issues like we've seen this week a lot less likely. So that is highly positive stuff. Now, just to show you a chart here. So the spikes are when central banks are cutting. So these are essentially periods where you're having across the board, no matter what country you're in, there's cutting ongoing. And you can see as of July 24 here, we're starting to get this big spike up. And with the US now going to get on boards, in September, you're going to see this continue to spike. And the previous spike obviously relates to the back end of COVID. And then what we had was not only the Bitcoin halving, but also a bull run that followed. And typically what you see is it takes about 6 months for the halving to really take effect in terms of supply and demand dynamics. So we're like 4 months in since the halving of April of 2024. So I would imagine in the next couple of months, you've got central banks cutting, making financial conditions easier. We've also saw the treasury buybacks ongoing in the US. They're literally just about to begin. Like, we have a really good cocktail here. So it does seem that the macro headwinds are kind of easing here, which is very, very good indeed. Now, Alex Kruger got this quote: in terms of phones ringing and investors trying to get a handle on things, we're having our busiest day of the year, but from a trading perspective, we are not, i.e. we're not having a busy day. We think it's a tactical and systematic unwind, mostly driven by quants and levered retail. Very little panic in our flows from institutional perspective. So essentially saying almost a crypto style leverage flush out like we see and we just saw on the earlier chart with open interest getting nuked. A lot of leverage in the system, stonks and macro wise, the TradFi bros also getting carried out in a similar fashion. So very interesting, stars seemingly aligning. So Dan posted this earlier. It's quite hard to fathom the velocity at which Solana memes are about to run. I do agree with this. Sol memes are going to go, especially when we look at Sol ETH in just a second. So let's just get into Solana memes here. But Dan's saying, look, open interest across the board's been wiped out. So a big flush. The lows have been swept. There's no further liquidity to go and grab. Bank of Japan caused a nuke and then bought the dip. Institutions continue to buy the dip. Sol ETF is not priced in as yet. And Sol ETH at all-time highs. So up we go. Let's jump into Sol. So chart number one here is just plain old Solana USD. And as you can see, this red line around 137 bucks is a key pivot point for Solana. Below it, you have a bit of a struggle down into these kind of wiki regions. You're looking into the 1 and teens. Anything below that, you are on major discounts. Some lucky people were able to buy at 110s earlier this week, but as you can see, back above 137 convincingly. And this morning, Sol's at 153, which is pretty incredible. And then if we just pull up the second chart, which is Sol versus ETH, the range highs, which were, rejected here, rejected again. People saying it's ETH's time to shine now because the ETH ETF is now going. Well, we've just busted on through. So this is the ratio of Solana to Ethereum, i.e. how much Sol is buying you how much ETH. So currently you can buy 1 Sol will get you around 6 million Gwei. And with this ratio improving over time, and like that looks like it's going to have a clean, kind of had a clean breakout here, you would expect some form of price expansion here, majorly to the upside. Don't know how high, don't know how far, but with Ethereum's sustained lack of strength and Sol's continued showing of strength, I think there's just been a major rebalancing of people finally capitulating and going, right, I've been holding maybe 40% of my portfolio in Ethereum. Maybe I'll cut that in half now and put the rest in Sol. We've got a bit of a winner on our hands, it would seem. And then this has been reflected on the charts. So the second order effect of this is people looking for additional risk on Sol. So we just want to mention memes here. There are obviously other plays to be made. I did mention Jito in a video yesterday, which I think will have a big run, but this is WIF. So WIF is pretty much synonymous with Solana. Meme coins is the leading meme coin on Sol, and it is kind of one of the poster boys of this cycle due to the gains it's made thus far. Year to date, it has the biggest returns of any coin. That is still the case, even with some nasty price action. Now, this is Blunt's Capital, who does these kind of, I think, Elliott wave price predictions and stuff. There's one just below in here where he previously called this like an absolute boss, saying, look, when it come down, go back up, and then it's going to revisit around $1 before the actual sender into new all-time highs. And we had like 350 posted. He got pretty close on all of these calls, to be fair to him. Didn't quite hit $1, but got very close to $1 over the blowout. We just go back here. But he's essentially just saying, look, $1 was tagged essentially. Fortunes were made, fortunes were lost, but fortunes will be made again on this coin. And with Pump.Fun, because there's just an oversaturation of meme coins, kind of like NFTs of last cycle, people are going to look to more established plays to park their funds. And if you want to make an allocation into a meme coin, it doesn't make sense to go and just pump it into a 50,000 market cap Pump.Fun token that's going to have someone probably own 80% of supply. These things are now looking a bit more lindy here, and WIF has really started to pump. It's actually quite a bit higher than this. He posted this about 12 hours ago from now. And this is also an interesting to think about in terms of mindshare and WIF as a meme. So Web3 Quant posted this, 2 interesting things this cycle. First thing, anytime a meme gets significant traction, they immediately call for the WIF flippening. And the second point here is that every time they've done that, those memes have topped, which is just a very interesting thing. Mindshare, mindshare, mindshare. And you can see that on holder scan here with 176,000 holders and growing. This was 169,000 last Friday. I do track this on a regular basis. These are the meme coins I'm pretty much holding now on Sol, with Billy here, 30,000 holders, going up nicely over the 1 day, almost as many additions as with there. Similar numbers being posted for the likes of Popcat here as well, 62,000, leading cat coin on Sol, and then Retardio down here, a cult coin, up 437, 13,000 holders. Now from this data, I would suggest it is unlikely you see the more outlandish culture coins have as many holders as an easier, less kind of, how would you put it? These are non-offensive. This is offensive. So this is going to attract a bigger pile of people. But I kind of imagine that the people who put into these culture coins, these kind of cults, would put more money in. So maybe you've got a lot of holders holding $50 worth, but you've probably got a lot of holders of a coin like this holding a few $1,000s worth. But these are the 4 plays that I currently have at this moment in time. And I actually cut from the portfolio all the kind of gambling stuff I was doing. We were doing the Pump.Funds. We were holding these small caps like 1 million, 2 million, 3 million tokens, hoping to see if they get a breakout. But with what's happened with the oversaturation, I do think it just makes a lot more sense to play with the winners, the ones that have got proven pedigree. And also now they're still like 50% plus from their highs, but they've rebounded really quick here with this bounce ongoing. And the Solana wealth effect will trickle down into these, as we saw earlier in the cycle. So this is kind of like a big round 2 coming up, in my humble opinion. But that's all from today. We'll leave things off here. Macro and memes, Bitcoin 57.4. Let's hope for more positive price action here. And of course, we'll check in maybe tomorrow with the likes of the stock markets and just see where things are. But it does seem like the recovery is underway here, which is very good. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this one. Check out the link down below for the BLOCMATES meal deal. You will not be disappointed if you sign up. Peace.